Hello, Bianca. This is Trinket HSW. First, I want to say that I respect and I really enjoy everything you say about the subject. And I want you to also know that I didn't make this video to try to make it look bad or even to prove you wrong, but to discuss the subject because I want to learn. And like answering, it's like with the ghost hunters. They go in to try to debunk so they can find the real truth. And that's what I like to do. I like to go in, try to prove the person wrong so I can find the real truth. And I know it's an odd way of doing it, but it's the best way that I found out and the best way for me to study. Now, as far as the Sabbath goes, there's a lot that I found in the Bible and a lot that I think people misrepresent in the New Testament. And what I mean by that is, like the book of Hebrews. Okay? Let's take the book of Hebrews. That's where I got the verse on Joshua saying that the Sabbath should be a day for resting. And Exodus is where I got the saying that God said to all. And later on in Exodus, he says that the Sabbath should be kept in memory as a holy day. Now, here's what my Bible says. Okay, and I want to start out with the introduction of it and the middle of it. But instead of improving on the purity and simplicity of Jesus, we dilute the purity, clutter the simplicity, and we become falsely religious and anxious religions. We get in that way. That's when it's time to read and pray our way through the letter to the Hebrews again, written for two religious Christians, for Jesus and Christians. In the letter it is Jesus and angels, or Jesus and Moses. Now what that means to me is that Hebrews was written in the New Testament as a reminder of how we should follow the Bible. Okay guys, you've read all this stuff, but let me remind you of what God commanded to do and how to do it. So let's go back to the Old Testament and command and review how God commanded things. And that is why I said that I cannot do that. I cannot answer a question and not include the Old Testament, because a lot of the Old Testament also means the same thing in the New Testament, or means the same thing and goes for today, regardless of when it's written, regardless of, that's like saying, let me see here, that's like saying, let me try to find an example here. Let's say, I can't think of an example. My mind's kind of blank right now. But, anyways, Hebrews chapter 1 verse 1 says, going through a long period of prophets, God has been addressing our ancestors in different ways for centuries. God has been addressing. I want to take that into note. Okay? And it says that recently he has spoken to us directly through his Son, by his Son. God created the world in the beginning, and it will be all belong to the Son at the end. This imperfectly mirrors God, and it's an example of what with God's nature. He holds everything together, what he says. Powerful words. Now, in the word, I can't remember where it's at, but it says God is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And Hebrews is to me a reenactment of things to remember what God said, so we can still keep some of the stuff that God taught in the Old Testament today, because it's important to God. It's extremely important. And that's why Hebrews chapter 4 chapter 4 says, let me do this. This is the Message version. Well, the resting is the Sabbath, okay? Hebrews chapter 4 says, for as long then as that promise of resting in Him pulls us onto God's goal for us, we need to be careful not to disqualify. We receive the same promises as those people in the wilderness, but the promise didn't do them a bit of good because they didn't receive the promises with faith. If we believe through, we'll experience the state of resting, but not if we don't have faith. See, as in words, that the promise of God back then in Exodus and wherever still lives with us today. And we believe in those promises. And here, well, where is it at? Let me try to find this real quick. Here in Hebrews, I do believe it's chapter 4. Yeah, chapter 4, verse 9. It says, let me go to verse 9. Let's start at verse 6. Okay? Now, we just read that it was a promise from God, right? Okay, chapter 4, verse 8. And so this is still a live promise. It wasn't canceled at any time of Joshua. Otherwise, God wouldn't keep renewing the appointments of today. The promise of arrival and rest is still for God's people, which is us. God Himself is at rest, the Sabbath. And at the end of the journey, He surely rests with God. So let's keep it and eventually arrive at the place of rest. Do not drop out through some sort of disobedience. As in words, it's still for today. Even though it was a promise back then, it's still for today. The Sabbath is still extremely important today. And regardless of the prophecies or the prophets, that's why Hebrews was written as a letter. It's still for today. So I'm sorry, Bianca, but I'm going to have to disagree with you on proof of the Bible that the Sabbath is required today. There's got to be a day of resting and a peace in God's presence. Now, I've been asking myself, then why did Jesus heal people and stuff during the Sabbath? For one, to do as an example to the priests and Pharisees that was watching him. For number two, to say that doing God's will on the day of the Sabbath is resting in God's presence, is worshiping Him, and is praising Him. So I hope you take this video with seriority and with I hope you just take it right. God bless you, Bianca, and keep making the videos. I love them. I love them, and I know you wasn't thinking about stopping, but I believe the Sabbath is required and is very important today. God bless.